GreenHopper to the wider audience in your company. So, as you probably know, the typical scenario for introducing JIRA is bottom up. So, a group of or a single passionate person who finds these tools useful start from the team, then a couple of teams, and then, after a few whiles, hundreds of people start using JIRA and GreenHopper in your company. And at some moment, high-level managers or executives realize that there is some tool which is used on a regular basis, on an everyday basis. However, there is growing gap between what executives or high-level managers expect and what these tools provide out of the box. So actually, this talk was born after real consulting work we had this year for a company which agreed to share this data with publicly. The company is actually based in London. It's Lumas, and they have several sites around the world. Hundreds of engineers working on several products, and in this company there was actually a top-down drive to introduce Scrum as the well-known effective method of developing software. And we were asked to help these guys to figure out how to really apply Atlassian tools to satisfy every layer in the organization, not only developers, testers, or Scrum Master or product owner, but also middle-level managers, chief product owners, chief Scrum Masters, and executives. So the scenario is as follows. The company has several products, but the one is the major one. The one which usually makes the most profit. And the product is developed for months and years by several sub-teams, Scrum teams. And there is a global product backlog with the prioritized stories, which basically is what high-level product owners and project managers are taking a look at. And there are also team product backlogs. We have here we have Scrum more or less introduced by the book, so we have monthly sprints, monthly iterations. So every team iterates in parallel. I will tell a little bit later about this parallelism here. And we have internal releases deployed to internal servers every N sprints, and every M sprints, every M internal releases we have a public big marketing release, which with a rollout to external customers. So the release cycles looks as follows. We have this marketing release, which may take from a few to a dozen of iterations, internal releases, and in internal releases we have sprints, and teams work on parallel, and sometimes a single team may work on just of a single subsystem. Sometimes a single subsystem of the bigger product requires work of several teams together, and sometimes one team works on 2 or 3 subsystems. So we have this non-trivial many-to-many relationship here. And the requirements from when we were asked to help these guys, they were doing pretty well on the tactical lowest level. So basically each team had their own task board, planning board, and the more teams were starting using the more teams started using JIRA and GreenHopper, the bigger problem they had, because the setup didn't scale. They had tons of custom fields, they had tons of versions, and then we started to analyze how to improve this situation. So requirements are as follows. So they want to be able to track the progress of the current sprint, so it's like this operational level, then on the internal release level, and marketing release, which is executive level. So executives want to know how well or how bad company does for their projects on the highest level. And as a really Scrum agile company, they measure everything in story points. So story points as a measure of project size or complexity, and they define the progress as the number of story points done, whatever that means, it differs by team, to all story points scheduled for given release. And they would like to measure trends. And this generally looks simple, and it's easily achievable by JIRA and GreenHopper out of the box. However, they want to do it, slice and dice these reports per Scrum team, per subsystem, and globally. And then the problem were that they were not able to easily have such cross-cutting reports. And so this is a little bit long quote from GreenHopper documentation, how GreenHopper sees Scrum of Scrums, so multiple Scrum teams working on a single bigger project. And I would like to highlight the fact that this online documentation proposes hierarchical versions to model system divided into subsystems, and then bottom level versions really map to sprints. So this is how GreenHopper documentation says it is the reasonable way. Unfortunately, in practice, it didn't work completely, because if you have dozens of teams working on monthly iterations, and you will split your version hierarchy into like a top level and then middle level for each, say, 10 subsystems, and then for each subsystem you create parallel versions, you will end up with, say, every month we'll create 10 new versions in JIRA, because you have, this tree of 10 subsystems, and then each subsystem will have a parallel version. And over time, they ended up with hundreds of versions which were unmaintainable, and also they were not able to do any reasonable reporting for, like, aggregate every version just for this subsystem or just for this team. So yeah, they faced combinatorial explosion of these versions times teams, and really also times number of subsystems. They were not able to aggregate results, slice and dice, all this stuff. And actually, also they were reporting, many built-in reports based on issue count or hours, not on story points. So also this metrics was not great for them. And also, basically, JIRA out of the box, or GreenHopper out of the box, doesn't provide a very powerful trends monitoring, which was a must for executives there to actually monitor not the current progress, but really how current progress relates to the past, so that they can do some forecasting, strategic forecasting, and so on. Okay, so the solution in this project, the biggest really problem, or the biggest thinking exercise, was to find out the best mapping between JIRA, their business domain, this customer business domain, and JIRA and GreenHopper domain. And usually this is the source of many problems or many wins, because both tools are so powerful that you can define this mapping in basically an infinite number of ways. However, most of these ways are wrong. Will cause you a lot of headache, because of many reports, many use cases will be just difficult then. And some of this almost infinite number of ways is good. I don't claim it's the best what we did, because there is nothing like the best in JIRA and GreenHopper. There is always, it depends. However, it has been used for several months already in production, and people are happy that finally they have such solution. So let me quickly tell you and demo out how it works, and how multiple Scrum teams are able to work together in a single instance on a single project, on many subcomponents. So product was mapped to project, JIRA project. So for this biggest product and multiple teams, we have one project, and for other less important products, we have other projects. Then team became a JIRA component. So this was an important mind switch to convince customers that if they decide to treat JIRA components as teams, they will win a lot. And I will show you, hopefully prove you, that it was a great idea. And to avoid, because it was, as I mentioned, reasonable sized company, not a few people, but a few hundred at least. We didn't want to confuse new people who were only starting using Jira. So we quickly find out how to rename component word to team. It's easily doable using language packs. So we write a tiny plugin really, which had like 2 lines: team component to map to team, and components map to teams. And whole Jira everywhere, in entire UI, when this language pack was installed, the UI started rendering teams. So no one was confused anymore what component versus team is. Just component disappeared completely, the term of component. However, we found out that GreenHopper unfortunately is not a good citizen regarding I18N. It has its own resources, I18N resources for teams, instead of using Jira terminology. And unfortunately, GreenHopper is not pluggable, so we have to write a patch which just takes jar, unpacks it, modifies, patches one resource file, packs it back. So this was the first and the single change we had to do to GreenHopper jar. Unfortunately, we normally don't do that. But thanks to that, also GreenHopper screens didn't show a single mention about component term. Always there was team. So subsystem was now, because component was occupied by something else, so we model subsystem as a multi-select custom field, so that we also, similarly to components which are multi-select, we could also present model a story or a task which relates to several subsystems. Product backlog became general GreenHopper project backlog. Team backlog was really a component backlog. I will show it to you. So it was like a sub backlog. Marketing release, internal release, and sprints were mapped into versions. And here we used a great feature of GreenHopper, which adds hierarchical versions to the naturally flat structure of Jira out of the box. So with GreenHopper you can have hierarchical versions. So product backlog, this was also the conceptually difficult thing to convince product owners, chief product owners, scrum masters, and team members to believe that it's doable. So here I have a couple of stories. Each box is a story, each color denotes a different team. So we have yellow team, gray team, and reddish team. Okay? And dots, we have 2 subsystems here. So green dot is subsystem A, and blue or violet is subsystem B. And you can see that this yellow team works on 2 subsystems, because we have this stuff, and gray team works only on green subsystem. And this is a global product backlog, so this is how chief product owners and chief stakeholders in the project sees the stuff. And but teams and scrum masters and team product owners want to see their stuff. So they have a view to their own team backlog, which is basically a filtered, the same sequence. This is a global ranking done by GreenHopper. So they have a filtered view of this backlog, just selecting yellow boxes here. Okay. If they switch, for example, this box with this box, automatically, because it's the same field, this stuff here will also change, which is okay, because if on a team level someone changes the priority, the ranking of this story, also we want to denote it on the global level, and vice versa. If one day chief product owner says that this is no longer important and move it to the bottom, we want immediately teams to be notified about it, to see it. And then we have subsystem backlog, which may have some other key stakeholders like business analysts or chief account managers. It's just the view which selects just the green boxes. And the same if we change 7 and 8, for example, immediately, because the same custom field is used below by GreenHopper, it will be immediately reflected. Okay, so now live demo how it works. shit. Come on. Okay, and it will be. Let's run from VirtualBox actually. Okay, so I have Agile board. It's our standard GreenHopper, and we have planning board. This is one important thing. It will take some time. Okay, so I have planning board, and you can see that here, first of all, I have, I'm not sure if it's visible, TM1 is our top level release, which executives are interested in. 11.2 is our middle level, and sprints are below. So 11.08 is a child version of 11.2, and this is a child version of TM1. And now I have this normally here. If I have a component here, okay, normally word component. As I mentioned, we replaced the wording, so it's a team in GreenHopper. And now, if a team wants to plan their backlog, like reorganize it, they click here, and we have a couple of teams named like Opel cars, for instance. And if I'm a member of Astra team, I just select here. It's probably empty, so let me choose something different, maybe Omega. Okay, so Victor team sees something like that and can shuffle stories here. Okay, and for instance, Calibra team will see something different. Oh, I have no data for Calibra, so it's a real obfuscated data. So let me choose something else. Just try. Is that unfortunate demo goals are always bad for me. Let me try bigger version. Okay, come on. So what's wrong? Or maybe I run out of memory, which happens. Just a sec. Not sure what's going on, but the point is that here I can select, slice and dice my backlog into two, using two really orthogonal aspects. One is by team, and then if I select a team, I can still choose at each level I'm managing counting the backlog. So I have a hierarchy here, which GreenHopper out of the box renders with these dots. So I can see that TM1 is a parent, 11.2 is a child, another child will be 12.0, which has 3 children. Okay, and when I select it, it's maybe something historical here. Just I have to come on. It was Omega. Okay. Something is wrong now. I hope it will recover in a moment. Because honestly, okay. So let me continue. I have not much time. I have no time now to see whether maybe my laptop ran out of memory. But you get the point. Thanks to using different JIRA concepts to component, version, and system, I can really, one more thing, I can also here slice my backlog using also context. So context, GreenHopper context, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with that, is basically an ability to add any JQL filter on top of what you see. So here we defined, again, our teams, and also we defined our subsystem. So for example, architecture will be one subsystem, and reporting is another subsystem, and performance management will be another subsystem. Thanks to that, we can basically have different views of this stuff. And okay, now I'm going back to presentations. Okay, now progress and trend tracking. So we have now the way to manage the backlog on various levels and provide visibility for all stakeholders. And now progress and trend tracking. So we want to monitor sprints again, hours and stories, internal releases, public releases, scheduled versus unscheduled stories, committed stories versus stretch goals, and the trends, team velocity trends. So we proposed a set of gadgets which were creatively used by Scrum Masters from the company and developers. So first of all, we have a team release, gadget, which shows us how many story points we are burning in every sprint. So here are sprints, monthly sprints, and we started from almost 14,000 story points, and we are burning them step by step. Here, which is a more precise gadget of what we are doing on the current internal release level. So it's our, say, 3 months long, or 4 months long here actually, internal release, and below we have the our important numbers: 73 days to the major event and 6 days to the internal, to the end of internal release. And this is it's projected often as a wallboard on the team screen, so they are really on the same page. Then, regarding sprint burn down, we try to use as much as we can from what GreenHopper offers. And here we have here 9 teams. These are by real data, I mean nothing fake. As you can see, hours here are reasonable, like 500, 700 hours per sprint. So it's definitely people behind working on some stuff. And I try to make it a little bigger so that you can, unfortunately JIRA is not the best view. I will click on that here, and you can see that we have standard reporting for standard burn down chart, with days here and how well or how bad we are doing regarding our optimum, or planned progress, which is this diagonal line. And this is for every team in the company. And it's, again, visibility is very important here, so anyone can see this dashboard at any moment to see which team is doing how every team is doing. So you can see that this team here is quite good because they are below red, but this one requires some attention because they definitely are above red line, which is required trend, and it's endangered. Their goals are definitely at risk. Then we have, regarding in the entire release, we have something called release plan, which was a plugin we wrote specifically. And this is a plugin for entire, this is a report, executive report for entire public marketing release, used by, especially for marketing guys and executives, to see how well we are doing for our global event, which is, for example, yearly. We can see here that we have 55% of story points done, not issues, which is important. So we measure as Scrum company story points, not issues. Issues are below, which is 739 out of 1,141. And below we have, if I click here, we have all the stats, which are clickable, of course, going to Issue Navigator. We can see which statuses given issues are, what story points are there, and so on. And also this could be done column. I will try to make it a little bit smaller. Okay, this could be done column is team commitment, what will be done, and what is a stretch goal. It's a simple custom field, but rendered in this report to show you which stories given team still commits to do on time and which became like at risk. And then if I click here, I can go deeper, see some stats like high-level stats of which team is, which piece of work belongs to given team, what is split of currently, open stories versus done stories, and what is the split of work, the distribution of work regarding the subsystems. So here we have like 10 or 12 subsystems, and below we have internal releases. So we have a couple of internal releases. You can see like 6, and there is some unscheduled stuff, which means we have here we have 69 stories, worth in total 1,000. This is this number here. Okay, 1,376 story points, which is not yet scheduled, which is a warning sign to product owners that sorry, I'm running out. This last minute. this is the warning sign that they are still to schedule some work. Otherwise, their original commitments, because these stories were to be included in this public release, will be just missed. And if you go further, say this iteration, or maybe this is not so interesting because, and here you can see sprints, individual sprints. So we have 3 sprints. This is fully done, completely done, and these are 2 in progress. So this is definitely something wrong, because normally we should end a sprint either with everything done, or we should like abort it. And I mean, it's a Scrum stuff, so I won't be touching upon it. So this is how it looks. Also, we have regarding trends. The last thing I would like to show from demo is we track team velocity, because we want to make sure that the team really grows and gets better. So we have a team, and here over iterations we measure some stuff like lowest velocity, highest, which are not measured basically, but they are predicted velocities. So a Scrum Master assumes that, for example, these 2 people will be on holidays, therefore our expected velocity will be lower. Or for example, in next iteration a new hire starts, so maybe we will have better velocity. And then we have some stats like story points per month per developer, or how many story points per ideal hour of developer work. So some high-level features which help us more or less estimate, if we know the size of the project in story points, how long it will take to develop this project. And of course, if you take just a single probe from a single sprint, doesn't make really sense. But here we are measuring the trends over time for every team. So this is how it looks for last 6 or 7 iterations. And we can also put all these stats together to put every team, to benchmark them together, of course with a pinch of salt, because velocity for one team and story point for one team doesn't mean the same value for other teams. So we shouldn't just blindly say that if, for example, that this team is better than this team. It doesn't mean like that. But here we can see that this team is definitely doing well because they are getting better over time. However, say this team here is flat, more or less. Okay, this is what this chart is about. Okay, and to conclude my presentation, I'm going back to slides now. So last small thing which we were not told, and which which occurred after after they started using this approach in production, was that parallel sprints were not so parallel because of logistical reasons. Shared Scrum Masters and so on, teams could start sprints as many as a few days earlier or later. And unfortunately, then the whole idea collapsed, because GreenHopper, if you have GreenHopper now, going back, okay, if you have GreenHopper and Agile tab, your end date here is just end date. It has nothing to do with team. You can, if you have just a single, say, 11.2 version, you can just specify it once. You cannot specify different end date for each team. And the problem with these few days was that burn-down charts generated by GreenHopper were completely screwed, because either first 5 days were cut or last 5 days, for example, in the worst scenario. So at this time we did something which we normally don't do ever, which is we modified 5 or 4 classes of GreenHopper, and when we added a concept on injectable strategies, how to GreenHopper itself, how to treat end and start dates of iterations. And here you can see that if I have I have start date 28th and 31st is the end date. If I select now a different team like Magnum, you can see that, okay, this is probably the same, but let me choose another. Okay, you can see that now I changed the team and the date were changed. So now start and end date became fully team, taking into consideration team context. And all the charts are magically everywhere on GreenHopper are rendered correctly. And this chart here starts from, as you can see, from 3rd of August. I'm not sure if this is visible here, it's 03, believe me. Okay, 03 and 03. And if I select Astra here, it's 29th of July. So you can see that it's really taken into consideration. And what was probably the ugliest thing I had to do in my life, because now they have to have a patch which they have to apply on GreenHopper, but it's a well isolated case, and hopefully they will not regret it too much. Okay, so which brings me to the last slide. Come on, not like this. This is virtual machine, and I'm getting confused. Come on. Okay. Okay. So, world is not perfect, unfortunately. This approach has several drawbacks still. So, GreenHopper is traditionally bad at treating unfinished work. So, if you close your iteration with some stories left over, you have to be careful about moving it, otherwise your charts and trends will be screwed. Unfortunately, hierarchical versions are a concept introduced by GreenHopper itself, and JIRA is flat. So customers, people get confused when they are administering versions from JIRA and not from GreenHopper UI. And sometimes GreenHopper says it does something, but in reality it does something else. So for example, aggregate hour charts just don't work. In the future, rapid board is coming. Probably some of you already have seen that in new GreenHopper. And rapid boards in the future will hopefully also help us do it even more in a more flexible way. I would love GreenHopper to have pluggable release date strategies so that we don't need to modify classes of this product. And I hope also that we'll end up with some vendor or maybe Atlassian will give us some executive dashboard or project portfolio management tool, which is something which I often hear everyone dreams of. And automatic velocity calculation is something I know is also planned. So we would like to do automatic forecasts. So when a team does, for example, 15 story points in the past on average, then GreenHopper could propose 15 story points for the next iteration as well automatically. Okay, short summary. Try to think out of the box when you are to map stuff. So in this case, we treated teams as components. It was really great. Try to define your reports as gadgets. Then your users can build awesome dashboards, which you would never dream about. And really, I was astonished that JIRA and GreenHopper out of the box, when configured carefully, did an awesome stuff supporting Scrum of Scrum teams. Thank you. That's all.